The Celtic Exchange, a fresh insight on Celtic Football Club.
The official attendance at Ibrox for Sunday's crucial Glasgow Derby was 50,063. With just 700 dedicated Celtic fans able to get tickets for the game, this meant that 49,363 lucky Rangers fans were able to take ringside seats for an Ange Postecoglou Masterclass. They could then watch on at close quarters as Celtic battled their way to a 2-1 victory, taking a massive step forward in this season's Scottish Premiership title race. This is episode 63 of the Celtic Exchange Weekly. This is Tino, and this week I'm joined by Mif and James to cover all things Celtic. Mif, Ange says it's just another 3 points, but what are you saying?
Hello Tino, hello James, hello guys. What am I saying? I'm saying that it was absolutely magnificent and it's going to take a major collapse for us not to go over the line for here. So the return of beautiful Sundays.
Welcome back.
I was very nervous beforehand, more so than normal. I wasn't surprised that Rangers started quickly. If you remember, even back under the likes of Warburton and Kashinya, which I would regard as lesser teams than this Rangers team, they would start fast. They got goals before us, so it's a recurrent theme when you visit Ibrox. Crowd on their side, and they got their early goal. Some pretty naive defending, really. I thought from us we contributed massively to that. But then after that, the composure that we showed, led by, in Ange's word, that an amazing captain, got us a foothold in the game, and then we controlled the rest of that first half. So it just the way that we can bounce back off the ropes for adversity, maybe a wee bit like the old Muhammad Ali rope-a-dope, where you take the sting out the opposition and then you capitalise. But no, I mean, but what else is there to say? It's just magic. What a feeling.
Yeah. James, we stressed before the game how important it would be to get the first goal on Sunday, and happy to say we got that one beautifully wrong.
It didn't happen.
How was your Sunday?
Great Sunday altogether. It's a strange game, from an Ange team. It wasn't our kind of football. We were more responding than being proactive. I thought our flow in football wasn't there. They defended so well and they were mentally strong. I thought they were really strong in the head throughout the game. They took everything that came at them, and they got their goals when they had to, through some good football as well.
Yeah. Mif, you spoke about the impact of captain Callum McGregor, and I think that's a good a place as any to start. So picture the scene as if you need to. It was only 24 hours ago, but we got a goal down within 3 minutes of kick-off. You then get something in the region of 50,000 raving fans giving it all sorts. Celtic players looked unsure of themselves, simple passes going astray, and it already looked at that stage like it was going to be a very long afternoon. Cue Callum McGregor with what I think genuinely would looked at as a season-defining moment. Alright, so on the clock, it's 6 minutes 3 seconds. Takes a pass around about 15 yards inside the Rangers half from Josip Juranovic. Any other player might have popped it back to Juranovic, played it safe, Starfelt out the left-hand side. Not McGregor, he's got a different idea in his head. He drives forward, as we know, he skips by Ramsey, Lundstrom, outmuscles Bassey, which isn't easy, powerful lad, managed to get across into the box, bit of pinball wizard, next thing you know it falls to Tom Rogic, one each, party time. And it's a passage of play which I think sums up Callum McGregor in general just now. It was a real scruff of the neck moment. There was a long time to go in the game, 85, still best part of 90 minutes left at that stage. And he just chose to do something different and he chose to lead. And he's just stepped into this role probably better than anyone could have expected.
Well, that was a subject to much debate around this time last year. We knew roundabout now that Scott Brown was going to leave. And it wasn't necessarily taken as a given that McGregor would be captain, and if he was given the captaincy, it was probably on the basis that there wasn't really anyone else there that was fit for it, and you wouldn't want to give it to somebody just coming in the door. So that was the general sentiment. It's like, it's got to be McGregor, but everybody was fairly underwhelmed by it. I don't think anyone, and I mean probably even his mum and dad, could have seen him doing the job that he's doing now in the manner that he's doing it. Particularly, it was noticeable after the first goal. Rogic was almost downplaying the celebrations, and McGregor was kind of trying to keep a lid on the rest of the team celebrating to kind of pull them together and get them back, as well as if it was to say, that's a bare minimum done. Mm-hmm. And I just think that's interesting. I also think it's really, really interesting that Ange referenced him after the game. doesn't normally do that. Almost bats down, because the question was about Rogic, and he went on to mention McGregor. I just think that's so telling as to McGregor is doing on the pitch. He's relaying those instructions to a T that Ange has given to the team, and he's reinforcing them. And I just think it's so important for us if we're going to be stable as a club moving forward and planning for the future and going again and again and again as we want to do, that relationship's there between the captain and the manager is just so vital and important.
Yeah, he's also at a very good age for that to be the case. I think he's 28, peak of his career. You know, he's already won plenty, James, for Celtic, and hopefully he'll continue to win many more trophies.
I'm happy to say that earlier in his career I didn't rate him. I'm
the same. I've been shut down for that one. I remember famously I didn't rate Ruud van Nistelrooy early in his career. That also went pear-shaped for me, so what do I know? Anyway, James, back to Callum McGregor. What impact do you think he's having as a skipper overall, as well as, you know, what he brought to the table yesterday?
It's like Mif says, he typifies what Ange wants to see in his players, and he's got a bonding effect, you know, amongst the whole team. He pulls it all together. He's the calm head when it's all panic stations. You know, that first 5 minutes, we lost the run ourselves. There was a chance Kent had in that 5 minutes and kind of choked on it. And if he'd scored that, different game. And then McGregor took it by the scruff of the neck, as you said. So he's the one that calmed it all down, brought them all together. He's maturing as a player. Like he's at the right time, 28, to be a captain Celtic. So you've got a good few years of McGregor's abilities going forward, you know.
Yeah, I thought, as you pointed out there, Mif, the celebrations for the first goal were very interesting, very kind of muted celebrations. Tom Rogic barely cracked a smile. I don't know if he did crack a smile, and I'm all right about that, because you shouldn't be 1-0 down so early in a game, and the fact that, you know, they weren't going daft and getting all excitable. It was one each. Let's restore parity and let's kick on from here.
Nobody bar big Giakoumakis.
He liked a smell.
He was giving it some.
He was in bopping heads.
He was giving it some. He gave it a couple of brilliance.
Yeah, but I think, and you seen McGregor in there, you know, pulling the guys together and having a wee word with guys kind of off the pack and different things. And I just think he's so important. Out with anything else, the fact that Celtic pulled in 15 players over 2 transfer windows this season, you need someone to introduce them to the club and you know, let them know what it's all about to play for Celtic. I can't remember who it was. I wish I did, but one of the new signings, whoever it may be, Early Bells, referenced Callum McGregor and how he phoned him before he came to the club to formally welcome him into the group and, you know, make him feel part of it already. And I just think that's so important, just to get guys in very quickly, but let them know what it's like to be a part of Celtic and be in a city like Glasgow, because it is so unique here. You know, there's no two ways to look at it, and someone that lets you know what's acceptable, what's not acceptable, and what it takes to succeed at Celtic. And he's the perfect guy. He's been there, done that. He's won so many trophies. He's also faced the adversity of last year, and painful as it was at the time, that's got to stand him in good stead moving forward.
Absolutely, and I can remember his pained interview up at Tannadice after we drew and gave the league away, although it was given away long before that, really. He said that we'll come back, that's what champions do. Very, very telling statement, even though at that time he didn't know then what we know now, and how good a fit Ange would be for the club and how well he would be backed as well, which is probably a good point to make. So McGregor has been the mainstay, one of the, leave it to those who are willing statements that we made all the way through last year. And when you think about that, when you think about the whole debacle that followed, knowing that half the squad wanted away or were going away, Eddie Howe lifting his skirt to us for the whole summer and then knocking us back. To be sitting where we are just now, they really never seen us coming. And hence why I think yesterday was such a hammer blow for them, because the Rangers fans that I spoke to were confident, very confident, and even if you seen on things on Twitter, social media, they were confident going into yesterday. And I still think there is an element of shock for them that we have managed to get our act together. Ange also referenced yesterday about we were still putting the team together when the league started. Mm-hmm. And you can tell that's still in his mind, was the stick he's obviously got at the start when he's barely even started the job. So he must be taking a great deal of satisfaction at all this.
Absolutely. And, looking back to the last game at Ibrox, 29th of August, I think it was, we've gone into that game with guys like Edward and Christie half a foot out the door, and that'll be some of the stuff that Ange's referencing. He's having to play these guys. At that point, he's not signed Carter-Vickers, Jota, Giakoumakis, maybe a couple of others.
There's a good stat on that. There's only 4 of that team started the game yesterday.
4 of the August team.
Yeah,
that's incredible in such a short space of time.
Was it not Juranovic's first game as well? Literally
at left back.
At left back.
Yeah.
And it's not just 4 that have started it. The fact that 7, 8, 9, 10 have come into it, but also gone and performed so admirably. It's one thing coming into that game and saying, this is our first time at it, and we eked out a draw. It was far from that. And I just think, you've got so many new guys, gelling at the same time. And as Ange says, he was this season he's been laying down the tracks ahead of him as the season's in full flow. And that must be very hard to do. Deal with the loss of a couple of key players. Christie could have been something under Ange. We'll never know. And obviously Edward was the main man for a couple of seasons. He's got to deal with the loss of them, bring other guys in at the same time and make it click. And 32 unbeaten games, James, domestically tells you that it's now clicking.
And a fully, a completely different style of football as well. So even the guys that were there when he came in, he's got to teach them this whole new way of playing. And it's a risky way of playing as well. It plays against people's safer instincts, to play, not playing out for the back and stuff like that. So add that into the mix. It's nothing short of phenomenal. What I would say is, as much as it would be we couldn't throw this away, it's not done yet. So let's just get it done.
Well, is that the line we're going with?
Yep, I'm sticking with that.
You're saying all sorts of stuff off there, but now you're coming in here.
No. I'm delighted.
I'm kidding.
I'm over the moon. But like James says, until it's official, let's just keep the heat
and the cup, the trebles here. So treble in his maiden season would be amazing.
Yeah, but caution all round. But trebles also.
Yes,
caution trebles.
A cautious treble.
So obviously, guys like Callum McGregor pick up a lot of the headlines, James. But who were the other standouts for you? At ease, Mif, we'll get to you.
If you're looking at guys like, maybe not getting the credit they deserve, Giakoumakis, Maeda, the pressure they put Rangers under, they've got stats on their pressures, 47 pressures each or something, which is, I think, really, really high in that regard. Carter-Vickers was brilliant. Starfelt was brilliant. Notable mention to GT3.
Come on.
He was good. And I think he's a limited player. I think we will need to change that if we want to step up next year. But I thought he was great yesterday. Juranovic was poor, actually. And McGregor ran the show. Yeah,
I think of the back 4, it wasn't Juranovic's day. You could say he was sleeping for that first goal. He certainly got caught inside with the run from Ryan Kent. And he never really recovered from that. And it's not a game to be negative about. As a team, as a unit, Celtic were very effective and they all played their part. Juranovic included in terms of how he helped pack the box when required.
And outstanding through ball for Maeda as well.
Phenomenal through ball.
Outstanding.
Mif, I know you've been waiting to do so for a good 24 hours, so the floor is yours. Greg Taylor 3.
Oh, I thought it was magic. And I have to say, he had a poor game against Bodo at home. Everybody's allowed a bad game. He got a fierce amount of stick for that, and everybody knows why he gets stick. But at the end of the day, I think he has improved vastly this season. It was always going to be hard replacing Kieran Tierney because effectively that he was signed like for like. Not done really any favours under Lennon, chopped and changed, Laxalt brought in, couldn't have done much for his confidence when you're trying to establish yourself at a bigger club like Celtic. And I think he's just thrived under Ange. Like I said at the start of the season, a lot of credit when we look back in this season will go to Ralston and Taylor, because their willingness to adapt to Ange's system allowed them to play it from early doors. I just think Taylor's 2 performances, particularly against Rangers, have been absolutely outstanding. And I'm just delighted for him. And I need to give a shout out.
Go on.
Big shout out. Paul Connon, long time listener, or so he tells me. And our friend on Twitter, Forest Finishing, they've give a bit of kudos to our Greg. So we're thinking of starting an appreciation society.
All 3
so
of you?
There'll be details available on that later. But I just think listen, I know I've been on about him, and it's one of those ones where you see a player and you think they get an undue bit of stick. I'm trying to think who would have been somebody. Who would have been some Ralston? But again,
maybe a bit
I hope he doesn't. I hope he doesn't listen. But he was probably due that because he just looked so limited, Ralston. But he's just added other dimensions to his game. With Taylor, I just thought young Scottish player signed. You're trying to invest in him, and people were just too quick to write him off. And whilst he is still limited in comparison to somebody like say Tierney, you're not going to replace Kieran Tierney with another Kieran Tierney,
But
unfortunately.
that has to be our ambition, though, to have a player like Tierney.
Yes, but also spend the appropriate amount of money to do that. Celtic are never really going to be in that fishing in that point.
Kieran Tierney is so unique in terms of coming up with a guy like that coming through your academy. That could happen to a Derby County or a Bournemouth or a St Johnstone or a Celtic. Kieran Tierneys don't come around all the time, and I think Celtic were really fortunate, and they obviously developed him fantastically well. But Real Madrid aren't weighing up this summer whether to go for Tierney or Greg Taylor.
No,
it's not the choice
you never
they
know.
face.
But there is someone out there in an Ange style where he's getting someone that's a wee bit unfancied and he can bring him into his system, and I think that's what we need to be looking for.
I'd like to think so, and I'd like to hope so, because Ange clearly knows how to identify a player, and I think Ange in his honest moments, whoever he shares them with, he knows we need another left back, but his job at this moment in time, in the same way that Greg Taylor is an individual, his job is to get the best out of what he's got in terms of his ability and his raw credentials as a footballer. Tony Ralston has done it extremely well. He knows he's limited. He's not going to nutmeg guys and dink goalies and all that kind of stuff we've spoken about, but he'll smash into tackles. He absolutely went to
man.
He's a lucky boy.
That's one to say your season's over. I don't mean physically. I'm just saying you'll not win this game, you'll not win the cup game, and you'll not win the game after that.
I've got a theory.
He could have got 2 red cards for that.
I've got a theory.
I thought it was a straight yellow, but
Outrageous tackle.
No.
I've watched it back today. Outrageous, outrageous, and I loved it. But outrageous,
I think it's a red. But my theory is right. Start of the season, Kent was particularly good against us and was playing directly against Ralston, if memory serves me correctly. So I'm pretty sure there was a bit of piss taking there, and I think Ralston's just went on. Right. In my own personal opinion, I just think Ralston has went on that park with one intention only, and that, if you see, he's almost like a dog chasing a boy. He just goes. Just went. His mind was made up 5 seconds before he got there. It's just, oh man, what a tackle!
A few challenges like that. A few markers put down. Giakoumakis, Carter-Vickers.
And Lundstrom as well. Lundstrom's into Giakoumakis. He saw the opportunity where he knew the ball was there and he would win the ball, but he's come through like that. And again, you celebrate it when it's for your own team. That's what these games are all about, isn't it?
Yeah. Tony Ralston's come on for 20 minutes. I think he's wiped Ryan Kent out and put 2 balls in the box and thought, my job is done. I'd give him 8 out of 10 in the star check for that. I think that's
team of the day.
I think I don't know if you're going to come on to it as well, but just when you did give me the floor, to be fair.
Go for it.
He did.
Always.
He did. Maeda is just... I was actually talking to somebody about that today. A half a second in football is a long time. When you're in possession, when you think you're getting a ball, especially for a defender, you're getting the touch out your feet and you're getting the ball down the line. He's so fast, he can just run at angles that just cuts off the most obvious pass or puts a defender under pressure before they play the pass. I thought he just made Rangers so uncomfortable yesterday, and it was delightful to watch. It was just brilliant seeing somebody put so much effort like that, a forward put so much effort like that into closing down. It was just magic.
It's unbelievable, and it's for the first minute to the 95th or whatever it might be. And I just think, I was going to cover him later on, Mif, but fast forward a wee bit.
Who needs an agenda, Tino? Just
Who needs that? But you could argue a guy like Maeda could be man of the match as well. He's not scored any goals, he's not had any assists, but what he's done for the team, because that, as I mentioned, it's not individuals that have won you that game, it's the team unit, everyone doing their job, and it starts with him, and it starts with Giakoumakis doing that press up top, and the effort he puts in when he's not on the ball is just incredible, and he never does that whole pained expression and looks at his mates as if to say, what are you doing about it? He just does his job and then jogs away. I wouldn't be surprised if he jogs between Lennoxtown and Celtic Park when Celtic travel. He just does his own thing and gets on with it and goes up the road.
I noticed that with them as well, actually. Rangers, Goldson in particular, when something didn't go their way, it was all moaning and arms in the air and stuff like that. Ange spoke about it early in the season. He said, wasted your energy, I don't want to see it in my teams, and you don't see it at Celtics from Maeda or anyone else, so it's a real part of the collective spirit at Celtic that doesn't go on. I
agree. And what a boost do you think it gives to his teammates, Mif, when they know that he's doing that work? And we know all about the high press now, and the job is to win it in the final third, but it must be such a bonus for these players, McGregor and otherwise, knowing that he's going to go and fight for that ball.
Well, I think it was Taylor, when he was interviewed, actually referenced it a few weeks ago, where he said Maeda was getting a bit of stick at the time, as new players tend to do if they've not scored 3 hat-tricks in 3 games or something. And he said the way this guy works, even in training, is just phenomenal. We can't believe the speed of him and how hard he works to close the ball down. And I think what you've seen is his confidence has grown and he's felt more part of a team. He's pretty much started almost every game Ange could have started him in.
Yeah.
He's found that place in the team, dare I say, since Giakoumakis has come into the team. I think
they fit.
That is a much, much better fit, because I think they account for each other. What Maeda lacks in physicality, Giakoumakis makes up for, and what Giakoumakis lacks in pace, Maeda makes up for. And you can see that they do have that connection. It was quite noticeable. I think it was at Fir Park when they played together, and you saw them link up a few times, and that's just blossomed and continued. So, that's what this season was all about. Was trying to find that formula and find the right players for the team to play the way the manager wanted to play. Maeda was obviously crucial to that, and you can see why, because that's where it starts. Try and win the ball back as high up as you can, put pressure on so the opposition can't build. And I think that was part of Rangers' problem yesterday. They couldn't really get a sustained head of steam up. To me, the way the Rangers played, not to dwell too much on the opposition, but to me the way Rangers were playing wasn't structured. It was ad hoc. It was kind of left to the players on the part. They didn't seem to be playing towards a pattern of play. It was just they kind of brought Sakala on. They were looking for him to do something magic, or they were looking for Tavernier to do something magic. It didn't seem like they had really, or they knew how they wanted to break us down.
It looked like they drilled into them all week how to stop us playing out for the back, and that was it. There was no other real tactical structure to it all. They put all their focus on that, and they did do that fairly well.
Yep.
They basically watched Bodo, basically, and they did that fairly well, but it meant nothing else was getting done.
Somebody pointed out in the latter stages of the game, you ended up with Connor Goldson in the number 9 position for Rangers and Tavernier in the 10.
Aye.
It just went.
But that's been happening for weeks with him.
I was saying to Mif, it was like when we used to stick Van Dijk up top and just cross fingers and hope for the best. That's what it was. So you're suggesting that they've got this top European coach in Gio van Bronckhorst, and obviously that they're in the quarterfinals, which is fine,
baffling,
and we'll see how that plays out. But you need to have more of an idea than just stick a few of the other guys forward and we'll see what happens. They seem to lack a plan. And when the chips were down and their fans are bemoaning the fact that it's same old, get the ball wide, cross it into the box, nobody in the end of it
It's
start
meat
again.
and drink for our guys.
But what I will say is, if Morelos plays, that's a different game, because that is his game going down the sides. And he tends to turn up for the bigger games as well. So Morelos missing is a huge blow for them, and just so unfortunate.
It's devastated for them. Another blow for Rangers was the fact that Cameron Carter-Vickers and Starfelt were playing, and they two were just phenomenal. They've come in for a bit of stick at different times, mostly Starfelt, but what a time to pick to have one of your best games of the season, James.
Oh, and they really did. They just ate everything up. They were so strong. I think they're so mentally switched on, the two of them. They see so much of the game, they read the game really well, and they just took care of everything that came their way. I'm just really, really impressed, particularly for Starfelt, because he's the one that's been taking the stick. And I was on record myself as saying I wasn't sure about him. I'm still, there's bits of his game that can be improved, but what a game he had yesterday.
Cracking strikers finish as well, Mif.
As far as Starfelt's concerned, just to touch on that, I've just made my peace with the fact he looks awkward. He's never going to look how I want him to look, so I just need to deal with it.
He's playing left.
It's about how my missus has to deal with living with me. He's not got to look like
Starfelt looking awkward.
Gary Barlow, she wants me to look like. It's not happening.
Starfelt looking awkward seems to be more of a Mif problem than a Starfelt problem. He doesn't really care about it, and he's getting the job done.
No, he certainly doesn't. And why should he? Why should he? He's got a manager that believes in him, a team that believes in him, that they're happy for him to have the ball. To be fair to him, yesterday when we were under pressure, he's driven out a few times and actually took the pressure off, because he's been able to step into midfield, find a pass. And to reference what you said, Tino, about him having a good game, if you remember back to that 1-0 defeat at Ibrox, in the second half, Starfelt was excellent. I thought in that game he had a really dodgy first half, but he showed a good bit of character to kind of steady himself. And I think, again, that mental resilience, the partnership he's built with Carter-Vickers, a lot of the time they were anticipating cross balls into the box before my eyes had even adjusted to watch where the ball was going. They'd get into position. They were so sharp. It's just, listen, it's no coincidence the fact that the defence has been rock solid all season, conceded not rock solid all season, whilst they've made individual ricks. The amount of goals that they've conceded is so meagre, and there has to be a reason behind that, partly due to them, but partly because the team's defending for the front.
19 goals, James, I think it is, in 32 games, so it's really, really impressive. From Starfelt's point of view, had you offered him a second half like that yesterday, he'd have taken it all day long, because he loves that kind of game. That's
his game. Yeah,
he's getting better at bringing the ball out, and under Ange there's no doubt he'll continue to improve. But see, just that camped in your own box, eating up everything, that is right up his street, and I think he just really stood up. And if you watch some of the highlights again, it's headers, it's blocks, it's tackles, it's putting his body on the line. It's everything you'd want for your centre half, and we've got 2 of them doing it.
Yeah.
We had asked the question, James, a week or 2 ago, if you could take Carter-Vickers or Jota. Only one. So you weren't here. Asked, Mif asked, Paddy.
Yeah.
Me and Mif, I think, were for Jota. Paddy was Carter-Vickers in that chair. Are you also? Is it a chair thing? Are you also Carter-Vickers?
It's a hard one, isn't it? I mean, I probably would be Carter-Vickers because keeping the door shut at the back, it allows the team to go on and do what we're doing. I love Jota as much as we bought off yesterday, and he's shown bits of his form coming back since his injury. If it was one, I'd probably do Carter-Vickers, but that's not how the world works.
It is not how it works. Just you'll remember seeing the picture yesterday of Jota and Hatate in the bath having a lovely time. And I seen it get posted on Twitter, and some Rangers fans replied, "How are we allowing them to do that at our club?" It's like, what? They're having a bath after the game. What can you do about it?
Away changing room facilities, mate.
Yeah. I agree though, James. I don't think Jota was at his best, but if given the choice between the two, and hopefully it's not a choice, hopefully it's both guys, but I love the attacking flair that Jota brings, and we'll see how that lands.
You need to be looking from their point of view, and Ange referenced this as well. He said there's a lot of things that we can't give them financially, all that stuff. What they won't get elsewhere is this kind of atmosphere, this kind of team unit. Christie must be looking up the road going, might be good to be a part of that for one season anyway. And Jota and Carter-Vickers are in it, enjoying it. So they must be thinking, I could have a better financial future, but I can really enjoy my football here. We're getting into the Champions League, so showcase all that stuff.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I think, Ange is probably speaking to other players already. That's just how football works. And when he's trying to sell the dream to some guys, he'll be showing them the game at Celtic Park in February. He'll be showing them how we showed some real resilience yesterday. And I think people want to be part of that, particularly, if we do go on to clinch the title, you've got that guaranteed Champions League. And also, maybe we'll cover it separately, but just the real luxury of no games in Europe till September, I think it is. Yeah. So none of this qualifiers in Scandinavia and mid-July and all that stuff. That would be a real luxury in itself. But the fact that other players, European players, are aware of Celtic. There's a young guy from Bayern Munich we've been linked with now, Christopher Scott.
Aye, yeah.
He doesn't sound very Bayern Munich, but not sure the background. But young attacking talent across Europe. We'll be looking at what Ange is doing. He's making headlines, and I think Celtic Park once again is becoming an exciting thing to be part of, and I think that's got to be a good thing moving forward. Before we move on from the game yesterday, we've not covered Giakoumakis in much detail, and I think he deserves real credit. Obviously no hat-trick on the occasion. Mif usually gets his goals, but he's brought so much more to the game yesterday than goals, hasn't he?
Yes, and it's the type of striker I think we've all been crying out for a number of years at Celtic. I thought he actually, the header at the back post, he could have done better with. He's trying to flick it instead of put it back across. I thought Giakoumakis could, but he's under pressure obviously, but I thought he could have done better. But in general, you can see that the Rangers players absolutely cannot stand him, and that is just brilliant. It's having that effect in the opposition where you are riling them, you're winding them up, even you're merely touching the ball. A bit like Daizen Morelos was with Celtic for a number of years. I think that's what Giakoumakis is bringing. He's a nuisance, he's a pest, he's more than willing to take hits for the team. It's just great to have that type of player, and he's ready made for that battle that you have going away from home in the Scottish Premiership. So I thought his contribution was notable yesterday. A power of work, much like Maeda, done the dirty stuff that we needed done. I think the cynical side of the game we were actually quite good at in terms of breaking the play up when Rangers were trying to dominate. The yellow cards that we took as well were all kind of good yellows in decent areas. Even Beaton as well. That was a stick on bet when Beaton came on to get a yellow card. Absolute easy money.
It was a good booking.
But that, in the context of the game, a great booking to take on the halfway line, breaking up a counter attack. So no, Giakoumakis for me, exactly the type of striker that we needed just to supplement what we already had in Kyogo, Maeda and Jota and Maeda.
Yeah. Another really pleasing aspect of the game, I think, was the full use of the 5 subs, and forced a wee bit through O'Reilly's injury, but the full use of the 5 subs, and not one of them went on and weakened what we were doing. You couldn't say that a lot this season, but Ange is now in a position where people were talking before the game, who'll start, will Kyogo be involved? We've got that to look forward to next week, lads. Play it cool. But in terms of the bench for Sunday, it was always going to be strong, you know, given some of the guys that were going to miss out. Was it going to be Rogic over O'Reilly, Hatate, Turnbull, different guys? And what you've got is 5 subs. Let me just check who was used exactly. So we know that Ralston came on, which is great to see.
Beaton O'Reilly.
Turnbull.
Beaton O'Reilly. O'Reilly come back off for Turnbull and... help me out, Mif.
Taylor for Ralston.
Ralston, Turnbull,
Abada.
O'Reilly, Abada.
Abada comes in for Jota. So you've got quality across the board there, and any one of those guys could have been given the nod to start. You know, people were arguing, should Ralston start? Should Turnbull maybe get the nod over Hatate?
Abada Maeda.
With Abada, I mean, these are all guys that are, you know, having an impact, and to be able to use those subs effectively at a game where you're using a lot of energy, there's a lot of effort going into it, and to be able to just bring in quality for quality, and even when O'Reilly gets injured, obviously unplanned, you said that's all right, we'll just stick Dave Turnbull in there, who's a pretty decent option. The slight concern, and it's not a big concern, is that young Rio Hatate was absolutely blown, wasn't he? And not long into the second half, there was a spell, I think around about the 50th minute, where somebody's get down the right hand side for Rangers.
Ramsey.
Oh, he was towing the caravan. He just was
Taylor
not
went
getting
mental
there.
at him.
Taylor.
And it was Ange's job, actually, not Hatate's job. Ange should have been taking him off before then.
I thought he should have taken him off 5 minutes before he did, and it could have been a concern because within that 5 minutes you could see that he was done, and that's when you could concede, you know, if he doesn't track his man. So I think he needs a wee rest again. I think he needs just popped out the team. You've hopefully got the options there with Rogic, O'Reilly, Turnbull, maybe even Gucci, you know, getting a bit of game time beat on. There's plenty of guys that can step in.
Am I right in saying he's already played a season? Would he fall into the same category as...
Yeah, full season.
Yeah, and won the league.
Maeda, aye. So, you know, although Maeda's probably an exception the way that he runs about. But yeah, they just need to be managed probably a bit better. I think similar happened a few weeks ago where it looked like it was dropping off and then he'd come back to a wee bit of form again. Maybe yesterday was just a wee step too far. Or a game too far for him, but I mean Hatate has shown more than enough. I think it's exciting to think that the whole squad will get a good decent pre-season together and build from there. So yeah, I just think Hatate just needs to be managed. I think that's quite clear.
Yeah. Aside from all the on-field action, there was obviously a number of disappointing incidents off the field over the course of the game, so we'll all have read about them now, but Celtic's physio getting hit with a bottle, requiring, I think, 4 stitches. The broken glass in Joe Hart's penalty box. The story is now that someone's launched a bottle and it's cracked off the crossbar.
There's actually a steward who's contradicted that and said it was broken glass that was thrown.
Aye. So one or t'other. None of them are good, put it that way. You've had other things going on, items launched at players taking corners, which is actually nothing new, but it just seems to have now become an accepted part of the game. You can just launch your Fanta over at Jota when he's taking a corner and it's fine.
No consequences.
So that seems to be allowed. Celtic players celebrating at full time in their corner with their fans, items getting launched. It's just becoming, you know, commonplace. We've spoken the last couple of weeks about the disappointment of the fact that this fixture's already been diluted with the lack of away support. But it is Scottish football's biggest export, and listen, there's a whole ongoing debate about the Australian trip and, you know, marketing yourself together with Rangers. I'm not promoting that by any stretch, but if we want to get more out of the TV money and different things like that, and if you want to attract more sponsors individually or otherwise, that game must be displayed better than what it was, and that was nothing short of embarrassing yesterday.
And you're right, you know, it's the exposure of that kind of behaviour that isn't good for the game. And, you know, there's plenty of coconuts full of Celtic as well. Just to be honest, there was a guy...
There's 3 of them in here.
Exactly. There was a guy threw a Lucozade bottle at Barry Mackay, was it up at Tynecastle? So that can, and you know, we've all been at away games and some of the balloons that run around there. So it seems to be a football thing. Give Rangers the edge on it, of course, you know, because broken glass is a step up.
I tell you, you know, there was various guys commenting. There was Marvin Bartley on Twitter saying, you know, football's football and all that stuff, and stuff goes on, but broken glass, you know, it's...
Where your own strikers are going to be playing, sliding in.
It's different level stuff, isn't it?
Yeah.
Man, all I can say is going to football for 35 years fairly regularly, and I personally have never felt the need to throw anything when I've been at the football. It's a mindset and a mentality I just can't really relate to, and that, you know, taking away from whatever team you support, I just don't see why you would need to do it.
I agreed. There was another thing that you might have seen today. So Celtic released their unique angle video.
Brilliant.
So for those who haven't seen it, when Carter-Vickers scores the second and he wheels away to celebrate,
how dare he?
If you focus on the Rangers crowd, one guy's done the whole "Hod my jacket, Margaret, I'm going down there."
To be fair, he's got a fit or advertising.
Has he though?
Aye, he has. Aye.
No,
Aye,
it's a
got-
pretend. I know he has, but is it like I'm coming for you?
Wasn't it that? It was a big
Somebody's
big
spilled the
Van
money.
Vader. Get the forearm out, man. Give them the headlock.
I did.
I mean, I'd love to see if he get through to Carter-Vickers and what would have happened. What would have happened there? But what is that? As you say, Mif, what's the mentality when a guy has the audacity to score a goal against your football team that you're going, I'm going on there, I'm going for him?
Have you seen the nickname that the Celtic players have gave Carter-Vickers?
I have, but reveal all.
The fridge.
Aye, well. Aye.
You can see
Quite
that.
like that.
But had that fella get through to the fridge,
Oh.
his Sunday would have been over and then some. But I just don't understand the mentality of that. And you're right, James, there's brilliance and all support, but that is some behaviour to feel like that's the move there. And there was that tension in the air yesterday. Once Celtic got ahead in the game, all that nonsense started to kick in and all that kind of behaviour.
Because it's all the, I've spoke about the gap from last year being a myth, and this is the reality hitting them, that it is a myth. And they're not this dominant team they thought they were. They were playing in a COVID season, and Celtic couldn't have been any worse. And all their kind of dreams are evaporating, and they're reacting.
I think, as Mif pointed out, I think this is a shock to the system for Rangers players and fans alike. As much as it's a huge boost to Celtic to go and, as Ange says, it is just another 3 points, but psychologically it's huge, right? For what it does,
At their ground.
it just, dare I say it, restores normal service and that kind of thing. But I just think it's such a huge blow to their players and their fans, and maybe a number of their fans weren't expecting them. If you've quoted a number of guys who were so confident from a Rangers point of view.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And listen, you can look at it from their point of view. They've been playing well in Europe, whilst the league results have been poor. They would have fancied themselves with home advantage to beat us. I understand that, but I just don't think they've given Celtic the credit for the fact that they are a very good team this year. But the whole point for me around like fan behaviour and things like that, the social media has created a kind of poisonous element
vacuum,
to everything, and it seems to amplify things even further than what the papers did back in the day. So I think it's something that the clubs themselves need to be careful of as to what they stoke up and the sort of feeling that they stoke. Because it's obviously going to have implications when the teams meet each other now, so much so that the fact that, like you say, Tino, it just seems to almost be commonplace now for objects, whatever they may be, to be launched for the stands towards the players. I just don't, we're going down a fairly dangerous road here. Just get back to supporting the team and watching the football, lads.
Yeah.
They make an example of these guys. There's no way you can't find them in CCTV. Just have them out, publicise it, and tell them what sentence they're getting, and bar them for life. All that, as much as ban orders sometimes don't work and all that stuff. But they need to make an example of these guys from any team and just cut it out. You
would like to think that the decent-minded people that are involved with Rangers will come down heavy here and try and put a message. They're quick to release statements for frivolous stuff and nonsense. This is a time to release a proper statement for their own good as much as the greater good of Scottish football, and just let it be known that a zero tolerance approach should be taken to this this kind of behaviour, because it's just, as I say, it's just becoming too common and too accepted. It's just like, there was a bit of nonsense there, wasn't there? And then you move on to the next game and it's forgotten about. So hopefully they'll address things in the right manner. So Celtic, obviously, league-wise, we're now 6 points clear and 16 goals clear. And Mif, of course, none of this would be possible without the leader, Ange Postecoglou. The impact he's had since arriving at the club has been nothing short of incredible, and he overcame another one of those supposed hoodoos yesterday. So that's the first time Rangers have been beating the league for how long, James?
35 games.
At Ibrox.
35 games, isn't it?
Time-wise, I don't have the game stats.
Oh, right,
You've caught me there.
The other stuff. 2.5 years, something like that.
For the Hamilton game?
Exactly that. 2 and a bit years. So Hamilton beat them 1-0 in March 2020. That was the last defeat at Ibrox. Ange doesn't care about that. He just comes in and blows those things out the water.
But it's those things that the press used to create pressure. So had he not won yesterday,
he was carrying Lennon's away record.
Yep,
do you know what I mean?
Yep, and it was put under him. So yeah, I mean, it's just great that he's just ticking these things off.
But he has, it's things like the away record, the Livy hoodoo, beating Rangers in any game, Celtic Park otherwise, and Ange just doesn't get sucked into all of that. And he's just got such a measured approach when it comes to, dealing with the press and answering those questions. So very calm, and as we've repeated a couple of times now, I don't know if he's saying something differently behind the walls at Lennoxtown, but he does genuinely seem to have it's just 3 points and that's all it is, lads, and we move on. The players were speaking pre-match. You'll have heard a few different interviews, and none of them are getting carried away with anything, and none of them are saying anything in terms of the approach to a game like Sunday. They're just saying, this is just another game under Ange, and this is what we do. And I think he's got them in a very calm and focused headspace, Mif.
Better from Giakoumakis.
But
He can do what he wants.
No, I think that seems to be the environment. He's created an environment that the players are thriving in. So whatever his method and approach is behind closed doors is working. What he does like to do is portray a very calm, measured and balanced approach to the camera. You know, and I think it gives us as fans a bit of confidence, because obviously you naturally get nervous before big games. But when you listen to him speak and you listen to the team kind of back that up, there's obviously that preparation goes into the game. They have belief in what they're setting out to do. And as a club, he has unified the club. Even from the boardroom, where there was a lot of stick, he's brought the fans, the players, the board, everybody in it together. Even the much maligned backroom staff of last season. Nobody's mentioning now that it's John Kennedy's fault we concede goals. Is he getting the credit now that we don't? Because he was a centre half, you know. Where's Gav's laptop? Have we seen it? You know, I'm assuming it's still there. All these things that were the things we were picking up, myself included, by the way, I'm not absolving myself for that. They disappear when you've got a figurehead and a leader like Ange, who has come in and just galvanised the entire club. So we're just so thankful that we've popped him. Who gets the credit though? I mean, Dom's disappeared. Has anybody heard from him?
Are you banging the drum for a new deal for Ian Bankier?
I wouldn't go that far.
5-year deal.
So, but who? In all seriousness, is it Lawwell? Is it? It's Pistol Pete.
So he was actually in. Believe it or not, he was in the betting for when Dyla got appointed. Postecoglou.
Was
it?
it?
Back that far with the Man City group connections and all that stuff. So it looks like a lol orchestrated thing that, you know, he's obviously handed that on to Mackay, and he's done the deal in terms of signed the deal. But yeah, you know, it's Pedro.
From Andy's point of view, though, just in terms of what you said there, Mif, galvanising folk, one way he does that is just he takes the ultimate responsibility for anything, and you know, that goes wrong across the board. He's one of those guys who's quick to play down his involvement when it goes right. I think he just picked up his third Manager of the Month award. Happy to give the credit to all the staff.
Yeah,
you see the photos now. It's this guy and this guy. I'm just the guy at the head of it. But if something goes wrong, and you know things did go wrong, he takes it. I pick the team. It's my decision. I tell him to play this way, and he takes full responsibility. And you can't underestimate the impact that must have on the people underneath that leadership, who are maybe feeling a bit of pressure for a variety of reasons. Maybe an analyst feels under pressure because, you know, something's gone wrong on his watch. Ange will take all that heat off him, and he'll take all the pressure off these guys in the same way that he'll do so with the players and all of his staff and every walk of the business. And it is bizarre enough, because he's come in, he has a one-man band. There's nobody at Celtic Park that he knew before, you know, 10th of June or whenever he was appointed. He's come in on his own and basically just brought the whole gang together, from boardroom to coaches to the dinner ladies to all the staff at Lennoxtown, and it's incredible modern day management.
Well, I think it's what's demanded. You see that for, you know, kind of like Klopp, Guardiola, albeit they'll have their backroom teams behind them, but it seems to be a very vogue thing that the manager becomes this sort of almost cult-like leader of the club. I think what Ange has done, James touched on it earlier, is it's the style of play. There's loads of different things that make Ange a good fit, but in the main, he's came here wanting to play a style of play that gets people off their seat. And I think as Celtic fans, we're always willing to give somebody that wee bit extra time when they've set out that that's what they're willing to do. I think if you go back to previous managers, you know, probably Strachan and Dyla would be the more conservative managers that we've played under. It tends to get stale pretty quickly between the fans and the team and the manager. So I think because of that, he came here with a freshness, he came here with a style, an identity, dare I say. I know that's quite an overused term, but he's done that. He's got a style of play and he's got the fans on board. It's created a juggernaut that's just built momentum throughout the course of the season, and now we're really reaping the benefits of it. And I think even by Ange's own admission, he would regard that as earlier than what he thought. Mm-hmm. Part of it has been down to what you would describe as almost a capitulation by Rangers, from the 10 points in front to now 6, practically 7 behind.
Do you know what their goal difference is under Van Bronckhorst? +7.
Is it?
Aye.
Is it?
That's thanks to Andy Halliday in the car there.
But you only, what was he doing in your car?
Radio Clyde.
You only capitulate, Mif, though, if there's pressure on you.
No.
You know, it's a two-way street. No, is it? Is that the complete wrong analogy? I don't care, I'm using it. But the fact that Rangers have suffered recently is because we are relentless.
And in fairness, they've went through their own managerial change mid-season, which probably wasn't great for them, not that we care. But that's contributed to it. But then by the same token, there were signs that all wasn't well in the camp prior to that.
Yeah, it was already in that way.
And also, you can't really blame Van Bronckhorst because it's not his team. He's been parachuted in and you know, trying to make the best of the
Given no
situation.
money in January.
Exactly. So I think that for me, everything has been the perfect storm for us this year. We've brought in the right guy at the right time, who's then been backed, and also brought in the right players. Mm-hmm. It's almost been the reverse for Rangers. The steadiness of their ship has just evaporated. And
you're seeing a wee bit of why McCann didn't spend the money to stop their 9 in a row. This is what they're now eating.
Exactly. You need
money's
to look
gone.
at the bigger picture and the infrastructure and the stability of your club as a whole. I mean, I think you've mentioned that Van Bronckhorst didn't get money in January. Does he get money in summer?
No chance. And who's going to sell?
Yeah, so they need to make some big moves.
There's no assets.
Yeah, so not to dwell on what they're doing or not doing, but
Schadenfreude.
I think if Van Bronckhorst is still there in the summer, I mean, he's going to get...
That's the question.
He's going to be in a ropey position should we put him out the Scottish, and if they falter Europa League wise. So anyway, we'll move away from him, but from Celtic's point of view, absolutely, if you know, Ange, perfect storm, the right guy at the right time. You've got to pinch yourself sometimes just as to how right he is for Celtic. You couldn't make up just how he gets it in terms of the style of play, how he speaks to people, how he speaks about, you know, his own immigrant background, which resonates with the whole ethos of Celtic Football Club. And there's so many other things that aside, and it's just incredible how well he's fitted in. James, I'm going to take you back just to his league record after 7 games of the season. Played 7, won 3, lost 3, drew 1, 10 points from a possible 21. How's he turned it around from that to where we are now?
He got his team in for a start. He got the team played the football he wanted to play. You know, it wasn't long after that we were cuffing Dundee 6-0 and St Mirren 6-0, and you were starting to see the kind of football that we'd be getting under Ange. So it was just personnel. You know, that first game against Hearts, I think Starfelt came for the airport or something like that. You know, it's just ridiculous.
So for the Hashi to go on the bench, he came directly for the airport.
Exactly, for the Hashi.
And came off the bench and left wing when they hadn't established his
Starfelt arrived the day before.
Aye. And not only did he get players in, he got guys out that needed to get out. Eddie, Christie, you know, all that kind of stuff. So, you know, he spent minus £11 million, by the way. So don't let it be said that he's a checkbook manager or anything like that. He's spent minus 11 million. We brought in 30, spent 20 odd.
I think as well, it's quite telling if you bring in 2 centre halves. You know, that's then the assumption is that's then going to take a while to settle down. Your 2 fullbacks at the start of the season were 2 guys that weren't fancied by the previous regime and have been fairly low down the pecking order.
He's also said to them, I want you to play mental football out for the back.
Yep. You know, and Hart as well. Hart was a cast off. So all those factors combined, the fact that so many signings have worked, you can look at it and say, well, that's really lucky. Yeah, you can say that.
I think there is a bit of luck.
But
it has to be.
Of course there is. But then by the same token, they've just bought into the manager, they've bought into the style of play, and they get what the club's about. You can see that it just looks like the players are really, really enjoying themselves.
No doubt about it. But here's a shuddering thought. I'd mentioned it briefly earlier on. Carter-Vickers, Giakoumakis and Jota signed on the last day of the summer window. Imagine you don't get those deals over the line. Commonplace in football, things fall down at the 12th hour, somebody swoops and takes them, player changes his mind.
Ivan Toney.
Exactly, what a blow that was. But there's 3 guys that, and Giakoumakis has come into his own now that Kyogo's been injured, but Carter-Vickers and Jota, well, all 3 of them, what an impact they've had. Each of them, you know, just you cannot deny that Carter-Vickers has been the rock on which the defensive foundation has been built. Giakoumakis has banged in, I think, 12 goals since the turn of the year, or 11 since the turn of the year.
But much more than his goals as well.
Absolutely. Jota, the flair he's brought, and some of the phenomenal football in the early part of the season. But imagine you don't get them. Are you where you are just now?
Well, the thing is, if Jota's come back from injury, again, James touched on the point where he's kind of been a bit in and out with his form and things like that, but he was absolutely electric in that sort of midwinter period, just prior to getting injured. he really was exceptional. And again, he seemed to have a galvanising effect in the team. Some games it was almost dragging the team through. Just it was him. He was the creativity. Giakoumakis, when he signed injured, I think.
I had surgery.
He signed injured. You didn't see him for a while. Games were getting past. He was on the bench a couple of times, didn't get on. You're going, oh, here we go again. It's Mo Bangura, Mark 2. Well, certainly that's what I was thinking. And then all of a sudden, well, he missed the penalty against Livy as well. And you're thinking, oh, well, maybe been sold a bit of a caper here. But fair play to him to think of the impact he's then subsequently had after that ropey start, the mental resilience that will take for a young guy coming to a new country to establish himself at a bigger club. Fair play to him.
Yeah, he spoke about it in January. He said, my season starts now. After he came back from his surgery and all that stuff.
Yeah, but what an impact. I think almost every signing's had. There's one or two that haven't quite worked out, but by and large, what a huge impact so many of these guys have had. Looking back, league-wise, Mif, as I say, Ange will tell you it's just another 3 points, but are you agreeing with Chris Boyd? Is it done?
Almost.
I'm agreeing with that poor wee guy, the wee Jeff guy.
Aye.
Poor guy, man.
Jeff. Surely it's Jeff, no Jeff.
It's Jeff. The guy died last week and they said it's a Jeff, not a Giff.
Jeff, not a GIF. Educational and informative, this podcast. Surely it's a GIF, Mif.
That's George.
So would you say a meme or a
meme?
A meme or a meme?
3 old guys doing a podcast.
It really is.
Moving swiftly on, lads.
Showing our age here, lads.
The audience plummets.
Yeah.
And next.
So we've got 6 games to go. We now know that 4 of these will be at Celtic Park. Last one pre-split is St Johnstone on Saturday coming. Can you see anything, James, other than a complete game-by-game focus from Ange? So obviously we as fans, podcasters, we'll look ahead, and I think I was taking an 11 games at a time approach a few games ago, but 6 league games to go, 4 at Celtic Park. Do you think you'd be telling the players anything but it's 1 game at a time?
No, I mean, I was doing a wee bit of kind of league math myself last week, in that, when could we win it if we win on Sunday, i.e. yesterday kind of thing. So fans can do all that stuff. I don't think Ange will. Just on that, it is, if we get them second game of post-split and we win that puts us 9 points ahead with 9 to go. So just so you know, that's where that will be kind of thing. If they take maximum points between now and then, St Mirren's a tricky game for them.
Yeah.
The weekend, we've got to do our bit as well, of course, but as far as Ange goes, it's game by game.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've obviously got the situation where teams are scrapping about. The league's so tight, and obviously we've got one more game pre-split, but there's teams scrapping for Europe. St Mirren have slipped into what looks like a relegation battle.
And St Johnstone are on form.
St Johnstone have won their last 2 games. So if Celtic do win on Saturday against St Johnstone, we'll be 9 points clear in the title race. Rangers don't play until Sunday. They've got St Mirren in the lunchtime kickoff. Question is, Mif, is it unfair that Rangers are getting an extra day's rest at this crucial time in the season? It's a fix, isn't it?
Have they not earned it? Are they not playing on Thursday?
Playing Thursday, aye.
Playing on Thursday. So they'll play on Sunday. So the chance to go 9 points clear, just the pressure that puts on them, they'll be tired from an away trip in Europe that they may well,
tough game. They beat Benfica on Friday night.
Beat Benfica. I watched that game. Listen, I don't. But yesterday's result, the result on Sunday means that we now don't need to worry about what they do. We just need to concentrate on ourselves. That's, as far as I'm concerned, it's just about getting 3 points on Saturday, moving on.
You mentioned James St Johnstone in decent form. They've won their last 2 at home to Livy and Motherwell. They're obviously scrapping to get out of that relegation playoff space that they currently occupy. Do you think there's any chance of a slip up against St Johnstone?
There's always a chance. It's football, but I don't think Ange will be anything but fully prepared for it. And if we play our game, we've got better players, we've got a cracking manager, so there shouldn't be any problems there. But players can get nervous at this stage when we're starting to put our heads in a space of we are going to win the league. Players might naturally fall into that as well. So no complacency, just get the job done.
Yeah. Mif, do you think we'll see Giorgos against St Johnstone?
I think we will.
Yes.
Yeah.
From the start?
No. Off the bench.
That'll be the end of that then.
But I think this is the best thing about Giorgos and Giakoumakis. So imagine it was yesterday and Giakoumakis has roughed them up for 60 minutes and then you bring Giorgos in. So I think there's going to be a bit of that, towards the end of the season and next year.
You also saw, going back to that defeat at Ibrox earlier in the season, you also saw the problems that Giorgos gave them when he did move through the middle from the left. He had a couple of chances and he was really unlucky. I know this season's not finished, and I actually posed the question. Sorry, I'm taking over your job here, Tino. I actually posed the question to my mates. So I thought 86 talking about my lifetime here for our younger listeners or older listeners. 86, centenary year. Stop me 10. Title for Tommy, invincible treble. This would be right up there for me.
I've heard loads of guys saying it now. This could be the best in their lifetime. This is guys in their 40s, guys that have seen a lot of success for Celtic over the years, and there's just something about this season. I don't want to get all dramatic, nostalgic, poetic, whatever, but there's just something about this season under Ange it's just really resonating with a lot of the Celtic support, James.
Yeah, and particularly because they wrote him off before he even started, then they wrote him off after he started, and now he's on the verge of a treble. So that's part of it as well, the fact that they were slated and it's not going to happen and all this kind of stuff, and he's just proving everyone wrong. Yeah.
Do you think it would rank as the best for you, Mif, or are you just saying it's in the mix there?
86 is going to be.
I'm saying it's in the mix. I mean, Stop Me 10 was probably the most pivotal.
Probably.
Stop Me 10 always be special. But after that, I don't know. 86, I was young at 86. I can still remember listening in the radio. I can remember the radio. There was see at the start of lockdown
in 1986.
BBC Scotland played they made available that day's transmission.
With Dundee and all that stuff as well.
It was absolutely brilliant. I went out the back with a cut of halves, and because the weather was nice. I went out the back with a cut of halves and just sat and listened to it. It was phenomenal.
James, you at Love Street in 86 with my dad and
Noel and Frank,
couple others. Yeah.
Then I get parked outside a pub and sat in the motor with my cousin James for 2 hours.
Can I call a bag of crisps?
That's how it was back in the day.
What's your memories of the game? Clear or a bit fuzzy? Or
so I was 9, so
19.
So
you just finished work and then
there was a few things. There was gates getting. There was a guy, the big metal gates kind of thing. So a Celtic fan just knocked on the metal gate and the steward opened it and about 400 guys ran in. So we tickets, so we go in. And I suppose the kind of, as a 9-year-old, you're kind of not the most sophisticated of football fans, and all the fans started cheering. Uncle Noel had a kind of transistor radio and a wee kind of earpiece and stuff like that, and gives the news that Dundee have scored. And it was just the kind of, nothing's happened on the park and the Celtic fans are going mental. You're going, what's going on kind of thing. So it was that's probably my biggest memory from it,
Yeah. Nice one, very good. So remains to be seen, Mif, but yeah, heading in the right direction is all we'll say in terms of hopefully and reclaiming the title. But as we start to wrap things up for the day, as I mentioned, 6 games to go. What's your final thoughts for the week?
Well, we're in a position we could only have dreamed of at this time last year. Just think of the difference. That's all I can say. Is it's just we have put ourselves in the best possible position. Now it's all about that one game at a time, knocking the games off and getting the points in the bag, and keeping the pressure on, because it's that's put us in the position we're in just now.
Yeah, absolutely. James, yourself, what's your closing comments this week?
Yeah, just myself and every Celtic fan to enjoy this, because last season was just so dark, and there's so much to be thankful for this season, and the focus can, for me, start to turn towards a treble, not just the title. The title was all I was interested in all year, and now you can look and going, there's no way you should be going for a treble there.
You're getting greedy, James.
That's who I am.
Paddy would like to hear as well. He's been banging at least the quadruple.
No, he was up for a quadruple, was it, Paddy?
He's definitely going for a treble, and I think there's a good chance he'll get to see it. So Celtic could find themselves an incredible 9 points clear in the Scottish Premiership title race by Saturday night, which is a frightening turnaround given the sketchy start to the season we had way back in August and September. Ange won't allow himself or the players to entertain thoughts of a title win just yet, but as supporters we're daring to dream that Ange may just be the man to deliver the trophy back to Celtic Park at the first time of asking. Thanks to Mif and James for joining me today, and thanks to you for continuing to follow and support the Celtic Exchange. If you're watching on YouTube, do us a favour and subscribe to the channel, and if you're listening to the podcast, please share this episode with your Celtic supporting pals. It really makes a big difference to what we do. But in the meantime, and as always, thanks for tuning in.